ECNL experience. Wednesday night, drove 2.5 hours to my teammate's house, where I stayed the night because I had an 8 a.m. flight the next day. Woke up at 5:15 a.m. and then another teammate picked me up and we headed to the airport. Once we got through security, I had a little bagel for breakfast and then we had to wait for our flight. The first flight was to Chicago, about an hour and a half long flight. Not too bad. We ended up having around an hour delay plus the hour layover, so 2-hour layover in total. And then we had a 3.5-hour flight to Phoenix. Once we made it to Phoenix, we went to the car rental and got a van, and then we headed to the hotel. Pretty normal hotel, a little bit bigger rooms than usual though, which was pretty nice. There was a mall right next to the hotel, so I ended up going there and walked around for a little bit. When we got back, we went to the pool and chilled in the hot tub also. Went back to the room and then just chilled for the rest of the night. Went to bed around 10. The next day, I woke up at 7:30 and brushed my teeth and then had some breakfast. This is my typical game day breakfast, which is just some sort of bread and then peanut butter with a little bit more carbs. And then chilled outside and went to the gas station, and I'm a bit of a caffeine addict, so I got some caffeine. Did like 2 minutes of school, just had to log on for my online school, and then headed to the game. We got here a little early so we'd go to the shoebox and get some merch, and then also watch a few games. Game film was like $15 and not very good quality, so here's a live stream from one of our parents. But the other team is the darker blue and my team is white, and this is a good idea of how they wanted to play. They just wanted to hold the ball, move it around, trying to create some space. They were missing their best player to the national selection game, so they were obviously missing a piece. In this clip I find a pressing moment and Body, the center back, and he does not like that. As you can see, he clear as day kicks me in the shin. He ends up getting a yellow card, which is well deserved, and ends up biting him in the back towards the end of the game. Going into half, it was 0-0, not much else happened. But here in the second half, I'm subbed out, but we're on the break. Right here, I think Diego's on the ball. He plays it inside to E, and E plays it through to JC, and JC has a great one-time finish, and we go up 1-0. In this clip, I check in, and I kind of set it down for my midfielder, and then run in behind, and I get right in front of the defender that has a yellow card, and he kind of just throws me down. At first, the ref calls nothing, and play continues on, but after like 20 seconds, the ref stops it and gives him the second yellow, and he gets a red card. Here, I press the defender plays it into his midfielder, which has a great turn. They get a weird bounce, and then they're just in on goal. They play it across, and I have a one-time finish. Their first real chance of the game. Here, Chase has a great slide tackle, which turns into a good pressing moment, so I step up a little bit. Body defender off the ball, Chase plays it one time in, and this is a great example of how this game went. I was just rushing it way too much. All that space, and this is what I end up doing. I play it right there, and it ends up going nowhere. Played pretty good though. Ended up drawing 1-1, which was a huge defeat because they had 10 men. After the game, we all went to In-N-Out. I typically don't eat a lot of fast food because it messes up my stomach, but I did have a double-double, but it killed my stomach. After I got back to the hotel and then showered, and then chilled in the hotel for a bit. Here's Diego cutting up JMO, but he did like 5 other people's cut and mine, so shout out to bro. And then we headed off to the national selection game. It was insane how many people were there, but here are all the scouts on one side, the same amount on the other side, but it's actually insane how many people there were. This is the second one I've been to, and I've never seen this much people. Just an amazing environment to put yourself out there. Once we got back to the hotel, had some dinner, and then just relaxed in the hotel room and went to bed around 10. Next day, woke up at 7:30 again. Me and Diego went into the gym and did some stretching for the morning, and then went outside and chilled for a bit. Had the same breakfast other than the yogurt. We had a 2 p.m. game, so I had some time to spare, watched some Prim, and then went to the gas station, and then headed off for the game. First clip here, got subbed in around the 20th minute in Navy, and we had a corner, and well, it was quite the weird corner, but ended up going in. Felt great to finally get a goal. Nothing else really happened in that first half. Here, JMO plays a great through ball, and I'm in on goal. I kind of just use my body to my advantage, kind of take a step over right here, and then have a great left-footed finish, which felt amazing. Here's towards the end of the game, we get a penalty, he steps up to take it, and ends up having a great finish. This is like the last 5 minutes, it starts pouring down rain. But the way this game went was they were kind of the opposite of the first team. They didn't really want to have the ball, and it ended up getting really back and forth. In the end, we ended up winning 3-1 versus River Island Surf. Came back to the hotel and showered again, and then we had tons of time, so ended up going to the mall. Walked around for around an hour and a half. Ended up getting some nice shoes for around $40. Went in the hot tub and then came back to the room. I don't even remember what was going on here, but we ended up getting a noise complaint for whatever it was. Next day, 8 a.m. game, so I had to get up early around 6. And then had the same breakfast from the last few days. I also had a liquid IV before every game. And then headed off to the game. And as everyone knows that played in ECNL Phoenix, the game got canceled. And I just had an energy drink, so I was not going back to sleep. So I went in the gym, hit a full body lift, and then did around a 1 mile jog for recovery, and then a 1 mile walk. And then we had around 3 hours before checkout, so I watched some Prim, and then, well, had another energy drink. Stopped at Chipotle for a little bit of lunch. I'm pretty simple, I just get rice, beans, cheese, and steak with a little bit of queso. And then we were at the airport, got through security, everything, and then we had around a 3-hour wait before our flight. Very boring because there was not a ton to do at the airport. But after a long wait, we finally got on our flight, and then we headed off to Denver for our first flight. Once we landed in Denver, I ended up getting this little egg sandwich for dinner, and then we had our second flight back to Iowa. One of my teammates drove me to my teammate's house to grab my car, and then I had a 2.5 hour drive back home. After a nice 2.5 hour drive, got back home around 12:30, and then chilled in my hot tub for a bit.